Welcome back to Car Babble, guys. French cars. I don't have a lot of experience with driving them in my older years. I've never reviewed one on the channel until now, and I've never owned one. But my first impressions of them back in the day were very good because one of my good mates, he had, his first couple of cars were French, and one of them was a Peugeot 306, and he had some major aftermarket big drum and bass in his car, and we just went cruising around that thing all the time, and I loved it. I can either confirm or deny that we might have had a drag race with him and his Peugeot 306 and me and my Ford Escort, which I think had a cylinder gone at that point, and he absolutely tanned me. And I thought his car was just amazing for that. So yeah, my impressions back then were really good of French cars basically. And then as an adult, I always kind of viewed them as a little bit maybe style over substance. And I don't really have any right to say that because I've never reviewed one or had one. Well, today I've got the Renault Symbioz, and I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I am going to try and do a full in-depth review of this car and see if it can change my perceptions of French cars, all the good, all the bad. And as always, if you enjoy my videos, please do like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It doesn't just help out with the algorithm, but it also really helps keep me motivated to keep making more car reviews. And if I know that you guys are liking them and commenting, I know what works and what doesn't and what you want to see. So buckle up, and let's get into it. So this is a new car from Renault, and it's only been out for a year, and oof, that's gruff. It has 3 trim levels: the Techno, the mid-spec is the Techno Esrpit Alpine, which is this, and then you get the iconic Esrpit Alpine. And I'm really glad I managed to finally say that without cocking it up. But yeah, basically, there's 2 powertrains. There's a mild hybrid, which has a 1.3 petrol mated to a small electric motor. And then you get this slightly better powertrain, which is a 1.6 petrol mated to a bigger electric motor. The difference between the 2 powertrains is roughly about 20 horsepower. So this bigger full hybrid has 160 horsepower. And the 0-60, I'm getting really mixed reports on what that actually is. So I'm going to do a launch in a little bit and we will confirm exactly what it can do. But it's not a very fast car. And when I say full hybrid, that obviously means it's got a decent sized battery supporting this petrol engine, but it is not a plug-in hybrid, which is music to my ears because as per my other video where I've talked about why I hate plug-in hybrids, I hate them. And so I do not want to ever own a plug-in hybrid again, and I'm probably never going to get too excited about talking about anybody else's. This full hybrid has a 4-cylinder and it's naturally aspirated. So it's not going to be blowing your socks off, and it's certainly not going to produce a huge amount of torque low down because, yeah, there's no turbo to kind of give it a wee boost. From my driving so far, would I be excited or confident to overtake more than one car? Probably not. I would probably make sure you've got quite a lot of room to overtake before you do, and you time it right, because when you put your foot down, oof, that's a good bit of lag there before things really get moving and you get up to speed. But you can overtake somebody. Yeah, I just wouldn't do it, you know, with a small amount of space to do it. This car is front-wheel drive, which is no big surprise because I'm struggling to find any French cars ever that were anything other than front-wheel drive. You get some that have an electric motor on the back, but they're not big fans of having internal combustion engines having torque going to the back wheels. I don't know why, considering they've got the French Alps and they love skiing and all that. There's probably plenty of snow and justification for all-wheel drive, but yeah, this one's front-wheel drive, and so in terms of, you know, slippery conditions, that's all you got. One of the things I do like about it is when you're coming off the line, you know, it seems to, the electric motor just kind of pushes you forward right away, so you really get that instant kind of movement, which is a lot better than in my plug-in hybrid Hyundai Santa Fe, where it doesn't do anything at all before it jerks forward. So I think off a standstill it seems to be quite responsive. It's just when you're up at speed and then, you know, you give it some throttle, it seems to sometimes get a little bit confused. So if you go for the mild hybrid, you get a 6-speed manual, and apparently it's a real joy to use. But if you go for this full hybrid, you get an automatic, and it is made up of 6 gears, 4 of which are tied to the petrol engine and 2 that are tied to the electric motors. And it's basically called a multi-modal gearbox. Basically, it's got like 14 different settings, apparently. and so, yeah, you could definitely change the settings a little bit depending on your driving. But is it a good gearbox? put my foot down, oh, it takes ages to kick down and actually get moving forward. So for overtaking, again, you need to really plan your overtaking because it does take a while to kick down. But it also sends the revs soaring quite badly at times when you are just asking for a little bit of throttle. So it's not a CVT gearbox, but it's giving me those kind of vibes a little bit at points. Yeah, it's okay for the most part. I'm not finding it terrible. It's smooth enough just driving along, but I do think it seems to get confused about what gear to be in. If you start to climb a hill or something, you're all of a sudden like getting this jerk forward. So it's got some flaws, but and whether it's going to be reliable over a long time, that is another question altogether. This is a new car, so I can't really report on that. But yeah, that's what you got. On the flip side though, this car is very economical, and this car at the moment in the real world is averaging 56.4 mpgs. That's pretty damn good. So yeah, the balance of performance, if we can call it that, with this fuel economy makes me a lot happier about the powertrain here. Yeah, that is really good, and I suspect over time it'll get better because this is a new car and it's not been properly run in really. It's only done a few thousand miles. So yeah, you might see over 60 miles per gallon out of this thing, and that is damn good. In terms of handling, it's not that high riding an SUV, if you can call it that. It's a crossover really. So I'm not getting like that feeling of like wallowing in the corners that you could get, and the suspension feels reasonably firm. It's definitely crashing over some bumps and potholes. It's all right up at speed, but at lower speeds I was like, oh yeah, it's really jumping about there. So it's probably on the stiffer side, I would say, but yeah, there isn't that much body lean in the corners, which is definitely good. What isn't so wonderful is the steering. If I was to come up with an analogy for it, I would say it's like a water biscuit without any cheese on it that's been injected with some anesthetic. It's really pretty lifeless and bland. Yeah, it's got no feel whatsoever, and so cornering is definitely not a joy in this thing from that perspective. Wouldn't expect it to be in a car like this. This is a family car and it's not one that's designed for sporty driving. So if you want a sporty driving car, get something else. And by the way, this car does have drive modes. You have Comfort, Eco, a racing flag one, which is Sport, and then you've got Multi-sense Perso, which I assume means personalized settings. But yeah, Sport mode, nice change of color on the Infotainment and Cockpit, but does it make it sharper to drive? Not really, just sharpens the throttle response a little bit. The steering isn't really noticeably better. I would leave it in Comfort or Eco and get the best out of the car, which is the fuel economy. It's not super quiet in here, but in this class of car, I wouldn't expect it to be like Audi levels either. So I'm not going to say compared to any of its rivals, I would expect it to be any different. As I say, you do get a bit of a groan from the petrol engine when you put your foot down, a little bit of tyre noise, wind noise not so much. Wing mirrors are decent size actually, but there's not much noise coming from those. So it's okay, you know, you can still have a chat with your passengers, but at the same time I wouldn't say that this is like serene. Visibility is a little bit of a mixed bag. You've got a reasonable window out the back. It's ever so slightly squashed. The only problem I'm really thinking is the backs of the rear seats are kind of just like making a much smaller area to look back. Like I say, the wing mirrors are decent, the frameless interior mirrors good, all good with all that. The A-pillars are quite thick though, so you kind of need to peer around those when you're getting out of junctions and stuff. My only main criticism though is the resolution of the rear view camera. It's not great. Seat comfort's pretty good. They're cloth seats in this trim, and they've got electric adjustment on both passenger and driver, which is decent. I'm not seeing memory though, and no lumbar support unless I'm missing that. So that's a shame. That really bothers me when cars don't give you lumbar support, and because these are cloth seats, that's maybe difficult to put the airbag in them. But yeah, they are comfortable, and you're not going to get a sweaty arse in the summer in them, and you're not going to feel the cold in the winter. You do actually have heated seats and steering wheel in this spec. But yeah, I feel like I sit on them and not really in them. They hug you a little bit, and they've got leather on the side, so they're kind of almost, as you almost say, Alcantara-ish. But they're pretty comfortable, and yeah, I think you could do long journeys in these and get out the other end feeling pretty good. The driving position is really good as well. I love the steering wheel. It's a lovely thickness. It's got BMW steering wheel vibes about it. Really nice and chunky and soft, and just feels really lovely to hold. You've got some proper buttons on the left side for your cruise control and adaptive cruise control, the right side for your cockpit, which is obviously digital, and lots of other functionality there as well. So they've got good clicky buttons, none of this haptic feedback nonsense. And so the functionality in the steering wheel is very good, and yeah, just generally think it's lovely to hold, and yeah, it's a real highlight of the car. Also got an armrest that slides forward and back. It doesn't ratchet up like in a lot of Volkswagen Group products, but at least you've got some adaptability there, so I really like that. And the elbow point in the door is really soft. So yeah, generally think I can put my elbows and still hold the wheel and be really comfy. Something else I've noticed whilst driving that's quite good for comfort is this padding on the side of the center console. It's quite nice to rest your knee on. It's the little things in life that make the difference, you know, and that's definitely one of them. Okay, I'm pretty sure this car doesn't have launch control, but let's launch it. That's 60. 8.85. That's a lot better than they say on paper. I mean, I saw quite a range of different times when I was looking at this, and the best one I think was 9.1 seconds. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. What I would say is the power delivery up to that time wasn't very linear. There was definitely bits where I was like, whoa, it's a bit faster, whoa, it's a bit slower, whoa, it's a bit faster. So yeah, that is probably one of those hybrid things where you've got two powertrains working together and they're helping each other out, and sometimes they're maybe just not working quite as well as a team as you'd like, but who knows. Either way, it got there quicker than it should have, and I will take that. Another subtle wee thing I like about this car is the gear stick. It's got a really nice feel in your hand. It's your kind of shift by wire type situation, but it still feels almost like an old school gear stick, which you don't get much of these days. It's got a nice wide sort of bit for your hand to just kind of grab. Kind of like it. Now let's try and switch off some annoying driver assistance systems on the move. So go to the car button and then go down to driving assistant. It's a very responsive touchscreen so far, and then go to configure my safety personal, I guess. And then yeah, you can change them there. So yeah, as always, a few stabs at touchscreen to get there. Thankfully it's not a laggy system, which makes that a lot less painful, but it's still very distracting to switch off stuff that I'm always going to want to switch off. For example, your speed limit chime that's telling you every time you go over the speed limit. That is super annoying. So yeah, my driving impressions are a mixed bag, but I would kind of expect them to be in this class of car. And so I'm okay with that. The fuel economy kind of redeems it so much that I'm not really that bothered about much else. This car is definitely going to be better driving around town as opposed to on the motorway. But it's not perfect, but it's still pretty competent. However, it is a family car, so there's an awful lot more to talk about. So let's park up and do that. So we've got a lot to talk about whilst I sit in the car. Now, I'm going to be sitting in the car for the rest of this review because my usual filming location, there's a bit of a problem with it, and I tried a couple other places and basically it was too noisy. So I'm going to have to talk about the rest of the car from inside the car. Now, looks are subjective as always, which is why I don't really talk much about them when it comes to cars, particularly what it looks like from the outside, because you can see it for yourself. A lot of people buy a car based on the looks being a fairly key point, and I'm not one of those people, but I say when it comes to that, the French are some of the best at it. And compared to its rivals, the Nissan Qashqai, the Skoda Karoq, the Kia Sportage, the Hyundai Tucson, cars like that, what do you think? But I personally think this is the best looking car in that class. And yeah, it's just got a nice balance of kind of a sporty, sleek look and appeal, but it's also sort of saying an SUV, but also kind of an estatey, hatchbacky vibe as well. It's kind of in the middle there, and it just doesn't look like a big gangly SUV, and I just think it's got a real nice profile. The front end looks amazing, the back end looks particularly good at night. And yeah, I just think it's quite a nice looking car. 19-inch rims on this spec, and I really think they look good too, but that might explain why the ride is a little bit firm. But let me know what you think about the looks in the comments. But one of the most important reasons why you would buy a car like this is for a little bit of practicality, I'm guessing. You could get the smaller Renault Capture if that's less of an issue for you. But if you have got children, then it's going to really matter what sort of stuff you can get in and how comfortable it is for them. Let's talk about the boot first of all, which is interesting because it's quite a practical boot in terms of its shape, and it's got tie-down points and things like that. It's also got no load lip if you're putting suitcases in, if you have the bottom shelf in that configuration, but you can lower it as well, which gives you more space. You can also then have stuff underneath it if you don't. So it's good like that, but you can also move the back seats forward and back a bit. So when they're in the furthest back setting, you've got 492 litres. And when they're in their furthest forward setting, you've got 612 litres. We'll talk about how that affects your leg room in the back in a bit, but that aside, You also can put the seats all the way down, and you then have 1582 litres. So that's then quite a decent load bay, but in its rear setting for the seats, the boot is actually smaller than a lot of its rivals, like the Qashqai, the Karoq, or the Kia Sportage. So worth noting that, but it is a decent enough sized boot. You'll definitely get a decent sized dog in there as well. So now that you know what the boot's like, let's have a wee chat about the back seats. They're not too bad. You've got this sort of Alcantara job going on in the back here as well, with a fabric, which are soft and squidgy, and yeah, they're quite comfortable, but it's definitely more of a two-seater back here in terms of adults. You would get 3 children back here. There's a slight transmission tunnel, but it's not too bad, so their feet probably would fit in there if they're just little kids. So yeah, you could do 3 kids here for relatively long journeys, but adults, this seat kind of recesses in a bit, and I think knee room's a lot better for it, so that's in my driving position. I'm 5'9", and it's not too bad. Toe room's really good as well. Headroom is pretty good too. Yeah, really quite happy with that. So anyone over 6 foot is gonna get a little bit tight, but overall, most people should be okay back here. Elbow point in the door, nice and soft. Door bin is, it's an okay size, but it's plasticky, no felt lining, so stuff could rattle about. There's no center armrest though, which is a bit annoying. And you've got Isofix in our 2 seats, but it's a zip to open them up, which just why do that? Just give us the actual bar with a plastic cap maybe at best, and you can just take all the plastic cap. For Isofix, that's the solution. I really don't know why it has to be more complicated than that. That whole zip thing, not a fan of it, and it's just a bit faffy really. You've got 2 USB-C ports and a cigarette lighter one as well, a couple of air vents, and yeah, that's about it. The windows go most of the way down. But yeah, overall, as long as you've got the seats in their rear setting, you'll be fine. But if you put them forward, no. This is my favourite part of a car review, the interior overview. And let's start with talking about the design and the quality side of things. I really like the design, and it looks quite modern and techy, and the whole infotainment system is a bit of a wow factor. We'll come back to that. But I do think it looks really nice in here, just like the outside of the car. As always, the French usually nail it with the design of their interiors, and it does look great. These seats look really nice, even before you sit in them. So I do love all that side of things. Quality-wise, though, it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I would expect it to be at this price point. Top of the dash here is soft-ish, so that's okay. The steering wheel, they've definitely put some money into that. It's really nice. And around the center console, no piano black, hallelujah. So a lot of that's good. I love this fabric in front of the passengers, above the glove box and stuff like that. But it gets quite plasticky on the door, and the elbow point's good, which is fine because that's the thing you touch. But further down, it's quite plasticky. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, and there's definitely some cheap materials used. No felt lining in the doors, for example. The door close sounds all right from inside the car, but when I closed the back door on the right from the outside, I was like, oh, that did not sound good at all. So it's a bit of a mixed bag on that one. So build quality, here and there, it's not bad, but I don't think it's going to be falling apart anytime soon. I really love the steering wheel, as I said, it's great. And yeah, that whole side of things, quality-wise, I would say overall, it's a pass. I say that, but then I look at this key and I'm like, what on earth is this? It's not a credit card, it's not a key, it's just like a little plastic thing with, yeah, your usual sort of key buttons. But I mean, like, what are you doing with that? That's still going to go in your pocket, but it can't go in a key ring because there's not even like a hook to put it onto something else, along with your house keys or something. That's just going to be annoying to carry about, and it just feels really cheap as well. So, yep. It's a no from me. But in terms of the storage in the Cubbies, other than the doors, which are big but don't have felt lining, the center console bit is all right. You've got a couple of decent cup holders that are the same size and they've got nice teeth on them. They pretty much fit my massive big shaker ball. You don't have a bin with storage as far as I can see in the middle here. It's just this kind of looks like a bit of a waste of space actually. But yeah, you can ratchet that forward a bit so you've got your armrest, but then it obscures the cup holders. So that's not ideal, not the best design there. You've got a really big cubby underneath where you can store your phone. I don't think it's wireless charging though. And then you've got another one at the top here, and the owner of the car actually puts a box of tissues there and they fit. So that's good. And then there's another one higher up that you can put your phone in. Again, that doesn't fit my phone actually, but that doesn't appear to be wireless charging either. You've got a couple of USB-Cs and a 12 volt by the look of things at the front. The glove box is a decent size, but we've got the classic French car fuse box eating into space in there. Love to see that, not. But yeah, there's no sunglasses holder, but overall the Cubby side of things is acceptable. But let's talk about this infotainment system because I think it's a real highlight for the car. First of all, it's in a portrait sort of format. You can't twist it around like in a BYD product, but who cares? My only criticism really is it's a bit too far away. I feel like I've got to really stretch to get to it. And so if you're an older lady with like short arms, I'd probably say that might be more of an issue, but then again, you'll probably be sitting closer to the wheel as well. But I just think it's a little bit far away, but that's maybe just me. It seems to be facing the driver a little bit, so it gets a pass on that as well. It's none of this, unlike with the fuse box, you know, they've not got it facing away to the passenger, so that is good. But it's really responsive, it's really colourful, looks nice, and it's easy to use. It's great, and it's Google based. So you've got Google Maps and all that, and you've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay wirelessly as well. It's brilliant functionality. Then for your heating controls, you've got full tactile, easy to press buttons below as shortcuts, so you don't need to even go into the infotainment for that. So that is brilliant. Overall, I think this system is brilliant, and compared to a lot of its rivals, for example, the Skoda Koroks, I know that the Volkswagen Group infotainment systems are fairly ding, and others like the Hyundai Kia products, their system's not the best, and I think it's actually aging a little bit now, but I think this system here is really good. This digital cockpit as well is decent enough. You can customize your views and all that, and have your sat-nav in there, and just lots of other information. You know, it's just your standard kind of digital cockpit these days. They all do roughly the same thing, but it looks good, and you can change the color schemes and things depending what drive mode you're in. Overall, that looks ace, and when you've got easy buttons to press and the button to control everything, job done. So the starting price for this car is just under 30 grand. It goes up to about 35 grand, but it's worth noting that if you go for the full hybrid version of this car, the starting price for that version is lower than a lot of its rivals. So that is important, because obviously one of the key selling points of this car is the MPGs you get on it. But in terms of spec, this mid-spec is pretty good. You've got pretty much all the things you really need or want in a modern car, like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You get that from base spec, to be fair. And it is wireless, obviously. And you've got a heated steering wheel, heated seats, keyless entry, LED headlights, and adaptive cruise control, and a load of annoying safety systems. But yeah, most of the things I would want in a car, all I'm missing really to be totally happy would be an upgraded sound system. And if you go for the iconic Esprit version, the top spec, you then get that and a 360 camera and this opaque sunroof, which can basically change to like you being able to see out of it or not, which is quite funky and a bit of a party piece. You can't get that in the Capture as well, so that may be a reason if you really wanted that to get this one. But those are the only things you're really missing, otherwise this is pretty well kitted out. So yeah, happy with that. What isn't so amazing is it didn't score 5 stars on the Euro NCAP safety ratings, it only got 4, and a lot of its rivals got 5, although I think some of those were scored on like the old system, which I think is maybe means that they haven't done it again since it was changed. But yeah, it still didn't get 5 stars, which is, you know, always a little bit disconcerting. It's like, well, what does that mean, you know, if I crash? So maybe worth noting, if safety's high up on your agenda, maybe a Volvo XC40 would be better for you in that regard. But reliability, it's too new to really say. The Capture's reliability record's not too bad, but Renault as a brand is not on the high end of reliability. So as a new car, obviously you're going to have a warranty on this thing, and so it's not going to really matter, but this is the sort of car that I would be concerned with having a hybrid system as well, that once it gets a bit older and you're out of warranty, if things go wrong, it could be quite expensive. So what's my final thoughts on this car? And do I think it's still style over substance? No, I don't actually. I think there is some substance here, thankfully. I definitely think out on the road, barring the fuel economy, there's a few things that could be better, but they're the things that probably don't matter as much if you were looking at a scorecard of things that you prioritize with a car like this. So I'm not so bothered by that, and I think a lot of its rivals will be similar. Maybe the Volkswagen Group versions of this car, like the Skoda Karoq, might be better in that regard. But when we talk about the interior, yes, the practicality is a little bit, it's versatile, but it's a little bit kind of, you can't have your cake and eat it. But up front, there's quite a lot to like here, and they've definitely thrown some decent money at this infotainment system, and it's quite easy to use, and I definitely think driving around town, this is going to be quite a comfy cruiser. And yeah, the fuel economy is so good, and that really matters to a lot of people. So it's got a lot going for it. It's a pretty looking car as well. So overall, I definitely think it's worth taking a look at this car if you're looking for a mainstream brand compact SUV for your family. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and as always, leave me a comment with your thoughts on the car, and if I've got something wrong, please do let me know in the comments respectfully, and I will happily correct the record, because I don't get that much time with the cars. I don't get a nice juicy press sheet like a lot of YouTubers will, and so yeah, I go with information I get online, and sometimes it can be inaccurate, sometimes I make mistakes, so just let me know and I'll happily correct the record. But otherwise, just thanks for watching guys, really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.